Hi friends, and welcome back to my studio. If you are new here, my name is Tammy Ernest and I am a Longarm quilter, and here on my YouTube channel I like to share customer finishes as well as my own personal projects. So thanks for joining me today. Alright, today I have a couple updates on a little bit of my personal sewing, and then I have some customer quilts. And I know right off the bat, so many of you have told me that when you watch my videos you look in my closet to see if your quilt is coming up, and right now it looks very empty. That does not mean I'm caught up. That means Maggie is cutting battings as we speak. What you can't see is there are two bars in that closet, and the bottom one is full, and she's currently cutting battings for me for the quilts that are coming up next, and it will be filled up there very soon. So I know so many of you have told me that you watch that closet, so just thought I would let you know why that is empty right now. So, personal sewing. The only time that I had an opportunity to do any personal sewing was on Friday night. Many of you have heard before that I like to stay up late on Friday night and do any of my personal sewing. It's one of those times that there's nothing else pulling at my time and everybody else is in bed, and so I usually stay up very, very late, like 3 or 4 in the morning. And then usually try to get up about 8 or 9 because I don't want to lose my whole Saturday by staying up late. So I try to get as much personal sewing done as I can during that amount of time. I also, every Friday night, you know, Daniel's back at college, and every Friday night we do a phone call. So sometimes I'm trying to do my sewing as I'm listening to what's going on in his week throughout the up there at school. And I always look forward to that time talking with him. So Friday night, this past Friday night, I did 2 things. So first of all, I am working on Quilty Fun. Whoops, I'm gonna lose some of my blocks out there. And this is a 1-year quilt along that Fat Quarter Shop is doing. Okay, now I thought I stuck my papers in here. I did. They're underneath here. All right. So this is a 1-year quilt along. This started in April. Will finish next March. So they just assigned 1 row of the quilt. This is a row quilt. This is a 10th year anniversary of Lori Holt's book, Quilty Fun. I love her story in here where she talks about that this started out at her church. Some of the ladies asked her to teach them to quilt. So she began teaching them, and she did it in rows so that they could practice doing one type of block for quite a while, and then putting it into a quilt. And so she basically put this book together after teaching those friends how to quilt. So this is done in rows, and Fat Quarter Shop is taken 1 row each month that you finish, and it's usually on the last Friday of the month is where they say to have it done by. So this past Friday would have been August 30th. Now, I did start this quilt many years ago. I can't say many. I mean, maybe 3 years ago is when I first started it, and I would do it as on Friday nights that was closest to my birthday day, and I would take that Friday night to work on this exclusively. Now I'm trying to follow, so the first several rows I already had finished even before this started. So now I am trying to go a little bit, you know, by the Fat Quarter Shop schedule, but you know, anytime works. So this past Friday night, or for the month of August, we're supposed to have the falling leaves done, and I didn't quite get them done. They're all in different stages, but let me show you what I do have done. Look at these tiny pieces. So these are the stems of the leaves. It's so tiny. Look at the back. I mean, that is so tiny. So well, let me see so the brown piece was cut at 3/4 of an inch. Cut at 3/4 of an inch. So if I lose a 1/4 inch on either side, that means that stem is only measuring 1/4 inch in the middle. So I have my stack of those, and the nice thing is Lori has you piece the whole strip of white, the whole strip of brown, the whole strip of white together, and then you subcut that. So you're not trying to cut these little pieces, and I think that is such a much nicer way to do small piecing like this, is do the strip piecing and then cut them into parts, because then you don't have the tension issues trying to push it through your sewing machine. You don't have it, you know, pulling through. You just have one long strip and then you can cut them all apart. Much easier. All right, so these are falling leaves blocks. So these are all in different states. So each falling leaf is made up of 2 colored prints, coordinating similar colors, just in a little bit different patterns, and then you're adding triangles to them. So these are some that I have halfway done, and then these are ones that I have completely finished. So I am using mostly Lori Holt fabric. Some of my beginning rows did not include exclusive Lori Holt fabrics. I do have leftovers from both my Calico Garden and my So Happy Place quilts, and so I'm trying to use most of those prints, but then also intersperse a few others if I need to. But so those are the falling leaves that I have done so far. So I only got three completely done. And how many am I making total? I am making 16 of them total, so obviously this isn't even all that I need. I still have others. What I did is I went through some of my older fabrics and I just paired up 2 browns, 2 greens, 2 purples, 2 reds, you know, and doing it that way. And so I have others set out on my cutting table right now that I'm pairing up together, and I will continue working on that. I did want to show you, last time I showed you that I had worked on the cocoa cups and my blocks. I should have measured my blocks before putting the whole row together because my row was too long. And let me show you how I fixed that. So I do have the whole row together, but and I've already paired it with the chevrons that go underneath it. But how I fix this, and this might be something you want to try. I wish I had trimmed up the blocks ahead of time so that I had the right size, but because I already had the row together, what I did instead was these parts right here where there was a white sashing, I just went in to that seam and I just stitched a little further in, like closer to the cocoa cup, to make it a little bit wider than a 1/4 inch seam, so that I wasn't losing any of the handle. I wasn't doing it on this side, but I was just stitching this seam right here a little tighter, a little bigger of a seam. So maybe, instead of a 1/4 inch, I was doing it maybe at 3/8 or something like that. And I did that on almost all of the blocks so that my little sashing between the cocoa cups is a little smaller than the pattern originally called for. Then I did add just a small sashing on the white, because if I did, or a small sashing on the ends, because if not, then when I did the stitching into the quilt, I was going to lose part of that cocoa cup. So I did add just a tiny little sashing on either end, and I went through and just made those other seams a tad bit bigger, and then measured it and cut it to the length. And then I joined that. There's sashing on the top, sashing below, and then the chevrons are underneath, and I had already done the chevrons quite a while back. So now it's the perfect size. And the quilt along does not go directly, let me grab my pattern again. The stitching, or the schedule, is following the progression of the book, but the progression of the book does not work straight down the quilt. So perhaps Lori did that. I'm sure there was a reasoning. You know, sometimes it's kind of boring to go straight down. So whether it was just she wanted more interest, or whether the blocks, the complexity of the blocks is building on each other, could be, you know, because you're starting out with just 4 patch, and then we did the chevrons, then the cocoa cup. So maybe she was going in a progression of the block. Well, we've already done the butterflies as well. So it could have been that she was teaching different skills at different times and working on those skills, but keeps you interested, so you're, you know, jumping around a little bit, but it does follow the progression of the book. So I am enjoying that quilt along. This is a free PDF on Fat Quarter Shop. The schedule, it does also give you fabric requirements in that. I'm just using scraps. I didn't even pay attention to the fabric requirements. I'm just pulling out scraps when I need it. So really the only thing that I needed extra was some white background. That I am not using a Lori Holt print. I'm just using a solid white for my background. So that is quilty fun. The second thing that I worked on this past Friday night before it got too late and I had to go to bed was the cottage temperature quilt for 2024. I am a month behind. I just finished the July block. So let me show you. So I still got August to do, and maybe I'll do that this Friday night. But this is my July block. I am using all Essex linen. For everything, the white background is Essex linen and all of the piecing is. I am pre-shrinking it only by adding best press and ironing it. So I don't think it's shrinking it quite to the point if I would have starched it. It does shrink. It does shrink a lot. So right now the texture, of linen it's a rougher thing. Now this is going to be a quilt more for hanging up. It's not really going to be one that that's going to be used, because this really is going to be a, what do I say, kind of a testimonial or a history of our 2024, because I am going to add some extra embroidery or little applique to mark different things in 2024 that were momentous in our family, and we've had several of those events this year. So, besides, you've heard me talk, we've got 2 weddings, 3 grandbabies. The 3rd grandbaby is due in less than a month, and they may deliver him a little early because he's growing so rapidly, but I can't wait to see him. The other 2 are doing great. So 2 weddings, 3 grandbabies. Our youngest son, Stephen, turned 18 this year. That's a big deal. We had the eclipse this year that came right over, the solar eclipse came right over our house. So many big events in 2024. So this is going to be more of a memorial quilt. It's not going to be one that I'm just going to have for use. It's probably going to be one either on my quilt ladder, or it'll be hung up on a wall or something like that. But the texture of this is kind of rough. The linen is. And so I don't know if once it was washed and dried, if it would soften up. I really don't know. But right now, just the texture of linen feels a little rough, that it might be, if you were just using it for a couch throw, I think it might be a little rough on the skin. Not terribly, but it's just not a soft, cool fabric. So it's linen. So you can see from July, and from my, here's my fabrics that I'm using. So you can see lots of browns and lots of pinks. So we were in the 80s. The oranges are in the 76 to 80 range, and then the browns move into the low 80s, and the pinks you're seeing are in the high 80s. We had one day in July that was over 90, which is kind of unusual, but August has been much, much hotter. I think August, my blocks are going to be almost all this little bit of a mottled pink color. Did you see that one? Just a tad bit darker than the other pinks. So we're going to have quite a few pink days here in August, finishing up August. But obviously we're already in September, so I can put the whole house together. What I love these trees. I think this is so fun. I love the trees. I even had the thought, tell me in the comments what you think, I almost this time did the roof the other way, because all the houses, they face, oh, that's a little glary, they all face the same way. And I don't know, I just had the thought Friday night when I was working on this, what if I switched it and put this, obviously my white would have to go on this side, so to move this piece over here, I'm going to have to move that darker print to that side, the white print to this side, and then move this one. Obviously this white easy corner triangle is going to have to be on that side, but to flip it so that the house is facing this way and then the chimney is back that way. Maybe I probably should have done one earlier in the quilt, because I'm already over halfway done with the quilt, and it might have looked nice to have maybe one in each row. So if you're working on this later, and it might be something to think about, whether you put your houses facing a couple, either direction. Some of them switching it and doing it the other direction. But I love these trees. To me, they kind of look like lollipops or something, but love the trees. I love how they change colors as you go through the quilt because of the temperatures changing. I think that's a really cool feature. I really enjoy that. So I also, if you remember the last time I showed you my temperature quilt, I had joined the first 6 months together, and I had not paid attention. Oh, I got a smudge on there. I had not paid attention that there was a sashing between the rows, so I did pick out the entire length of that, and I did add the sashing. It's a small one. It's only maybe a 2-inch, 1.5 inch finished. Probably looks like 1.5 inch finished. Maybe a 2-inch one. I don't remember. But so I did go back and fix that. So all the first 6 months is all together. You can see all that, and just waiting to add the second half of the year. I'm not hoping it goes too fast. This year has already gone fast enough. I want to enjoy each day and not wish it to go by too fast. So, all right, that is my personal sewing that I have done this week. Let's start off with this quilt. This first quilt today is Terry's quilt, and she said this is a free pattern called Layer Cake Links. This is on the Fat Quarter Shop. It's a free PDF. You don't even have to put in your name, email address, or anything. You just go click on the link that it downloads it, and you can download it right from there. So this uses layer cakes. It uses one print layer cake, 36, or you can use your stash and just cut 10-inch squares, and one solid layer cake. So Terry said for hers, she used the line Ginkgo Garden in Shimmer. This is done by Deborah Edwards. And so it's blues. It does have a little bit of a metallic look with a shimmer look, so that your golds are a little bit shiny. And then the ginkgo, so it has almost like an oriental type feel to the fabrics. And you can see the block here, they're linking together and moving diagonally down the quilt. Really, really cute. So this would be a great stash buster. You could pull your own fabrics out and cut 10-inch squares, or if you have one of those layer cakes sitting around, this would be a great pattern to use them up in. Her background fabric is a low volume. From here it even reads as a solid, but when you get in close, it is a low volume, just a white on white, and very, very cute. So the backing fabric, she used this pale blue. It's so pretty. It really shows off the quilting. And let me find, the backing fabric is a Bella Solid. This is done in mist. So for the pantograph, this is called Whisper. Whisper is very chunky, very flowy, so it has your spiral, and it is a chunky spiral, not very, not real thin lines. I like how it opens out, and then on the back of the spiral, it does have the feather motif, and then it throws in a couple of bubbles there, little circles, one on top of the feather type print, others, some big, some small inside of there. I like this one. So this is, again, if you are doing hand-guided work, which I know many of you are, swirl. These are really, you're putting like 3 different designs that you practice on your own. So if you practice spiral and you get good at that one, you practice the feather one, that one's probably the hardest one, and you practice circles. The trick with circles is not to come and stop and then go around. The trick with circles is to keep your momentum, and you come in and you circle around almost like you're slinging around. And that's exactly the same way that these designers program it into the digital designs as well. They don't stop. They continue the momentum around so that it's like doing a loop like that. So you're really taking 3 designs. You're taking your spiral, and again, spiral you can learn the basic movement of a spiral, but it changes depending on how tight you make your coming back out of it, whether you come in and come to a point like this one is, or you come in and you round it, and how big you come out. Spirals can be done in so many different fashions, but it's basically the same movement. It's just how large you spin out of it. Then you're combining that spiral with the feather design, and this feather is just done on the backbone of it. And then the third element you're adding is the circles. So if you're practicing those things, if you're practicing on a quilt and you do all spirals on a quilt, and another quilt you've done where you're doing all maybe meander and then adding some circles in there, and another quilt you're working on feathers, and then you can start combining those motifs together to get a different design, and it's really, really cute. So this thread I used is white. All the background fabrics are white, like I mentioned, and then the white, when you're in close, you can see that it's white. I love the texture that it creates on there. It's a really, really cute. I like that one. So this quilt measures 56 by 63, so a great infant type quilt, a great throw for your couch or over the back of a chair. I like the size of it. And again, that uses a layer cake. So if you have 36 prints in a layer cake and then 36 of a low volume or a solid, then you could create this quilt. This one would be pretty too if you did black as your background and then bright colors, or flip it around and do black as your background and then some light as your links there. So really, really cute. And that's Terry's quilt. And Glenda's quilt is absolutely darling. This is a Lori Holt pattern. This was in the January sampler box when Mercantile first came out, which was Lori Holt's line, and she put this, they had this pattern in the sampler box along with a roly-poly or jelly roll strips, 2.5-inch strips of Mercantile. So this is called Haberdashery. And you'll have to find somebody that either has this pattern and doesn't want it anymore, or because this did come as an exclusive in the sampler box. I do believe Lori had a hat pattern similar to this many years ago, and you might go and look for that, or if I can find it, I'll link it down below. If you have information about that, just let me know. But this one uses all 2.5-inch strips. This is so cute. I love how the hats are like a patchwork, and then you have the band. If you can see the band, you might be able to see it here a little better. See the band across, and then you have the, most of them are pinks or reds. Is that a flower or is it a bow? I'm not sure. But then there is a low volume. This is very similar to one Terry had on her quilt. This is a low volume, a white on white, all the background fabric. So that is extra that was not included in the box. And then I love the border on this one. So let me see if you can see. So the border goes from this would be the top right, all the way down, all the way across the bottom. But then when you get to the other corner, it stops and it's open on that corner. And then that side goes all the way up, around the corner, and then it's open on the top right. Isn't that cute? Just a different way to make a border, you know? We get so stuck in tradition that this is the way it's got to be. And Lori comes along and does a pattern and says, let's try something different. So, and it's all the 2.5-inch strips. It's all, or 2.5-inch squares all the way around. So you don't have enough to do the whole border? Don't worry about it. You could do what Lori did and just leave it open. So it's the upper left-hand corner and the lower right-hand corner, and then you leave the other parts open. I think that's really cute. Backing fabric. This is, it's a fleece is what I would say. So like a gingham fleece in the like a mint green color, really cute. Gives a nice softness to the quilt. And then you can see the pantograph. So the pantograph on this one is Soho. And Glenda said she does not like really tight quilting. She enjoys more of a looser design. So I did Soho rather large. So, you know, bigger than bigger than my fist. And Soho is such a versatile pattern. Really, really fun. I did this in a white thread. Again, all the background fabric is white, and fleece is very similar to a minky in the nap of it, in the thickness of it. So the quilting really soaks into that, and you really don't even see the stitches. You just see the density that it creates, or the texture that it creates on that. Really cute. This quilt measures about 52 by 52, so a nice size. Really cute, really fun. Love this one. Of course, I love Lori Holt's fabrics. I think this is really cute. All right, I have another one by Glenda. This beautiful quilt you probably recognize. This is Barn Star Sampler. This is done by Shelley Kavana, and Glenda did it all in grunges and solid scraps. I love the grunge effect with these prints. I think it is so, so cute. Especially, can you see this pink star up here? Just pulled it down so you could see it a little bit better. So the grunge and the gradiated effect, I'm not sure this pink is a grunge. It looks more of like a gradiated fabric, and I love the way that that's done with those pinks and those purples. Really provides a lot of shading. And then you can see the grunges in these other stars. So this quilt pattern, this is a whole book, and all different sizes of squares you see, or all different sizes of blocks. You see this strip of smaller blocks here. I love the negative way that it does it. So you have a red star with the white background, the white star with the red background. You got some crosses, lots of stars, lots of different blocks, all different ones. So you have very large stars like the one down here, and then smaller ones. I love, this is a sampler, but I love how it's not traditional. It's not that I don't love traditional samplers, but this one, the setting of it is not your traditional grid type pattern. It's all mixed in. You've got smaller blocks, larger blocks, and I love the look of that. I love the colors of all these grunges. It's really, really cute, and Glenda did a really nice job on this one. For the backing fabric, she chose a white minky. Wow, hope that's not too much of a glare. Isn't that pretty? Love the feel of that. Very nice. So for the pantograph on this one, Glenda chose wave on wave. So kind of similar to the Whisper one that I just showed you a minute ago. A few more spirals and less feathers on this one. So if you can see, so here's a feather here, comes out just one little feather or paisley on the back side of that, right into another spiral, and then it goes in and does a little bit of a feather type thing, but it's not on the backbone of the spiral. It's really just out by itself, and then it spins out and does the spirals. Again, no bubbles on this one. And again, Glenda likes a little more open quilting, not super dense. So this isn't, this is good coverage, but I didn't do it super small. You could do this much smaller if you wanted. So the circles or the spirals on this are about my fist size. The feathered part of it is, larger than my fingers. So really nice. Thread on this one is white. We have a white backing, white background prints. You can see the white on the grunges. You can see the stitching, but with that white on the back and the white background fabric, white was the obvious choice on this one. Really cute. Oh, I like this. This is a very large quilt. This measures about 80 by 100. So a nice size quilt. A lot of work goes into it, but it is a beauty once you're finished. So very, very nice, Glenda. You did a really nice job on that one. And again, that is a book. I will link it down below. that could be a good project for your 2025 if you're already looking at plans for next year, and that might be on your bucket list. So, all right, we're going to move on to a couple quilts by Carol, and I filmed this section of the video a few days ago, and you'll be able to see a lot more quilts on that part. So Carol's quilt is a gift for a college student going to UC Davis. So the colors are obviously blue and gold. So for this one, Carol has used Bella Solids. She's used Royal and Saffron, both just solid color fabrics on the front. And then on the back is a lemon sorbet batik. And this is super simple. Again, quilting does not have to be hard. There is a pattern. She did follow a pattern called Picnic Time by Andy Knowlton, and I have linked that below. But if you notice the pattern, it is just alternating 9 patches with solid squares. So when you use the same fabric in the 9 patches as well as the solid squares, then you get that Irish chain type of look with the patches in the 9 patch. So really, really cute. And then she's added a small border around the outside of that, and then in the gold, in the saffron color, and then done a royal border around the outside. And really, really cute. Really cute. This is good. This is a great quilt for a college student. Whether it's, you know, we've seen the t-shirt quilts, which are great because that's carrying their memories off to college, but then also creating ones that are in their school colors, something they can have on their in their dorm room there, and have some school spirit and some memories there. I think this is a great idea. So for the pantograph on this one, we use Moulin Rouge. Nice, bubbly, round, soft. Love this pantograph. Adds a lot of daintiness to the quilt, where you've got a very square, very solid colors, and then we add this pantograph on the top that really softens the whole look of it up, and I really like that. So on this one, I did use a yellow thread on the top, but then I used pre-wound bobbins on the back that was in the light cream color. And I don't even think you can tell that it's not yellow, because with the yellow thread on the top, you really notice the yellow in the blue royal parts of the quilt top. And then I paired it with just the cream on the back, and it just blends right into that backing fabric, which is a batik. A lot of yellows there, so the cream really kind of takes on that yellow theme. I really enjoy using pre-wound bobbins when I can, when it matches the color close enough. It just saves me time not having to wind my own bobbins, and also saves me just tension troubles. When I use a pre-wound bobbin, my machine is I've already set the tension for those pre-wound bobbins, so I do check my bobbins every time. Every time I put in a new bobbin, I check the tension with a toa gauge, and right around 200 is where I like it, maybe a tad bit above 200, just because I want the tension to pull to the top a little bit. I don't want the tension on the bottom to be too tight. And that's where I find most problems happen, is where you have the tension on the bottom too tight. So on a toa gauge, I like to do about just under 200, right at 200 on a toa gauge. I always clean out on my bobbin case. I'll take just maybe a post-it note or something, just a slip of paper, and slip underneath the little edge on your bobbin case, and just to clear out any lint. I've found over time that if I'm having trouble with a bobbin or with tension, sometimes that's all there is. There's just a little bit of lint in that bobbin case somewhere, and I need to clean it out. So every time I change a bobbin, I always check the tension on that bobbin. The toa gauge does say to always check your tension on a full bobbin, and so normally I'll start with a full bobbin. The only time I would not start with a full bobbin is usually if I'm doing the basting stitches around. I'll pull out one of the older you know, if I have a pre-wound bobbin that just has a little bit of thread on it, that's where I'll pull that out and do my basting stitches around. And then I usually start with a full bobbin. If it's only part of a bobbin and I've just finished up another quilt and I'm starting another one and it's the same color, then I'll go ahead and finish out that bobbin. I know that bobbin was good, but tension troubles do come sometimes when just a changing of fabric. I can be running both long arms at the same time and be using the exact same thread in both machines, and one will have a lot of lint and one will not have any lint. And I think it just depends on the fabric, can depend on the batting that's inside, on how much lint you're going to get. And anytime that lint gets caught in your bobbin or in your bobbin case, it can cause tension problems. So, you know, you got to check lint a lot. You got to just check the tension on your bobbin a lot. But what I was saying was, if I have just finished up one quilt, moving on to another one, the bobbin is the same color, I will continue to use that bobbin. I like to start, if I can help it, I don't like my pass to stop in the middle because I ran out of bobbin. So I'll check the bobbin at the beginning of a pass, and if I see that sometimes I play chicken, you know, I'll say, I think it's gonna make it, and sometimes it'll make it all the way to the very last little bit, and then I'll have to put a new bobbin in. But I like to use up the bobbin as absolutely much as I can, but I don't really like to have a bobbin run out in the middle of a pass across the quilt. So I do have lots of the little, you know, bobbins, the pre-wounds that just have a little bit on it, so I'll pull those out, use them if I'm using basting stitches. And sometimes if I have a pass that doesn't use a lot of thread, I will pull out some of those older bobbins that just have a little bit on it, but I know it's enough to make it an entire pass across, and that's how I'll use some of those up as well. But how did I get started on that? Oh, because so on this quilt I did use pre-wound bobbins in the light cream color, and it blended really well with the yellow on the quilt top. So love this quilt. It measures 56 by 68. There's a perfect throw size for a dorm room. I think it'll be really adorable. And here are pictures of Carol's second quilt. Carol's second quilt is a baby quilt that measures 36 by 42, and this is called Sidelight Baby Quilt. This is obviously, to me, looks like a jelly roll quilt. She used a designer called On William Street, and I've linked their website down below. So 36 by 42, I love the look of this quilt. The fabric on this one is Bunny Trail by Danny Mogstadt. This is so cute, so just soft and delicate, and I really like the rabbits and the bunnies and the colors of it. I like how she's done little lighter colors at the top and moved to the darker colors towards the bottom. I love that whole zipper effect where it's dark all the way down the middle and a little lighter on the sides with those pieces coming in. It's really, really cute, really fun. So for the pantograph on this one, she wanted Bunny Hop. And let me show you, here's a printout of it. You might be able to see it a little bit better on the printout. So just adding those bunnies onto this quilt, just like in the fabrics. And I did use a white thread on this one. A lot of the fabrics that were coming in from the sides, those jelly roll prints, are white, and so I used a white thread on this one. I did try to make the pantograph about the same size as that is printed here. I wanted those bunnies to not be so big that, you know, they're spanning several of those strips, but small enough that you can see it. A little, you know, they're going to overlap on those strips, but about the same size as the size that I stitched it out on. Especially with what I want to say, like motifs or characters like this, if you go too small, I feel like it's a lot of stitching, and you don't get the whole look of it. I think if you go too small, you lose the look of the bunny. So about this size is good. You could go larger, but then again, I feel like you lose the design a little bit. So keeping it a size where you can tell what the bunny is, and not so small that it just looks like a glob. This one does have little flowers there as well, just like a half flower, and then it's just meander around in between there. So really, really cute. Love those fabrics. And she says on this one she'll be adding a white chenille binding. Won't that be pretty? Very, very cute. All right, let's move on to this quilt here. This is Ruth's quilt, and this measures 52 by 71. She said she followed the Crumbcake pattern by the Fabric Patch. Said she didn't do it exactly, but that's the pattern that she followed. And then for the fabrics, most of these are Songbook, which is by Fancy That Design House. I love this designer's colors. I love her aesthetic with the Bible verses and hymns and all of that. So can you see the panels that the panel prints that are in here? These are all songs. So Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. All to thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all. Tune thy heart to sing thy grace. Come thou fount is what that one is from. This one, even so, it is well with my soul. I love this. Loves. Up here, this is my story. This is my song. Up here it says, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Great is thy faithfulness. So just beautiful. Ruth has taken those panel prints, fussy cut them, and then put them into the squares here. And then she's followed the pattern for the rest of this Crumbcake. And the pattern says you use up every crumb of your fabric, and so you can see tiny little pieces. So most of this other fabric is Songbook. She said she did use a little bit of grunge and maybe Hobby Lobby in here as well. Love the colors that she's added. So you've got the aesthetic of Fancy That Design House, which is a little more muted, your greens, your blues, your browns, the muted oranges, the muted mustardy colors. Those are her colorway. And then you can see, I'm assuming that some of these, this looks like a grunge print, this little bit of a peachy tone, but you can see how that's in some of these panel prints as well. Super, super cute. Just love it so much. The backing fabric, I love this one as well. A larger floral, but almost a watercolor type feel. I believe this is a Fancy That Design House fabric as well. I think it's all part of that same line, I'm pretty sure. But love it. It's like line drawings, but not quite watercolor because the flowers are a solid color, but just very very soft, very fall feeling, and I love this quilt. So the pantograph that she chose is called Saffron Blossom, and it is going to be hard to see on this fabric because this is so busy. But Saffron Blossom has 3 petals, almost like a water lily kind of, 3 petals that are together in a flower, and then it comes out and there's 1 petal, 2 petal, 3 petal, and then it goes into the next one. So like leaves. So you have like a flower, saffron blossom, and then you have 3 leaves, and then you go into your next blossom right here, and then 3 more leaves right there. Love this. So for the thread, I did use a cream color. These fabrics are muted. The back is more of a cream base to it. So cream color is what I used on this one. This one, you're going to see the quilt when you walk into a room, when you see this on a bed or over a couch, you're going to see the design of the quilt. To see the quilting really takes second stage to this one. You're going to have to really get in close to even see the design. It's meant just to be one, to hold the quilt all together, but two, just to be a secondary pattern there, kind of enrich it a little bit, but the fabrics in this really carry this entire quilt. I like that she did a border around the edge in that dark blue. Love that too. I really love Fancy That Design House. I love everything that I have seen of hers. Just really, really cute. So that is Ruth's quilt, and here are pictures of the next one. I love this quilt too. This is Jan's quilt, and Jan is making this for some family friends who are on a quest to visit all the national parks in the US. How cool is that? This quilt would be so fun in an RV if you travel or you know somebody that does. I just think this is so cute. And wouldn't it be fun then to, as you visit the different places, to use like a micron pen and write in there the dates that you were there at that park. I just think this is so cute. So this is one large panel. It's called National Parks. It's done by Anderson Design Group for Riley Blake. So this is a very large panel. So the panel goes all the way out to here. Even that tan border is part of the panel. And then Jan has added a border print that is part of the yardage, but it has all the patches like that would be for each one of the each one of the national parks. It's all the patches, and I love this sage green color there. So everyone, they're done in alphabetical order. So up at the top, I can't see the very top one, but like Arches, Badlands, it goes to Black Canyon, Canyonlands, Carlsbad Caverns, I've been there, Crater Lake, Cuyahoga Valley, Death Valley, all the way through. Goes all the way down. So fun. I just think this is so cool, and what a great, I just think this would be so fun to be taking trips to each one of these and to mark them off your list as you go. Petrified Forest, I've been there. My senior year of high school, my parents decided we needed to do one big family vacation before we started all leaving home. We did a whole trip out west, 2 weeks. We borrowed a van from somebody else so that we had enough room. 2 weeks in the van, and we went to Carlsbad Caverns. We went to the Grand Canyon, the Petrified Forest, Zion. We went to Arches. We went to, what's the other one up there? Bryce. Went to Bryce. And then we went up into Yellowstone, and what a memorable trip. Never forget, never forget. It was so fun, and just love that my parents took us to places like these, and I have the memories of seeing our country is so diverse, from north to south, east to west. It's so diverse, and until you're actually there, I just don't think that you understand the animals that are there, the landscape that's there. Funny story, a couple years ago when my husband and I went to Arizona, and we flew into Phoenix. This was a business trip for him, but we had some days that we could do some things. And so we're staying near Phoenix, and one day we decided to go to the Grand Canyon. He'd never seen it. I had seen it when I was in high school, and we went to the Grand Canyon. Well, we left Phoenix, and it's, I don't know, 80 some degrees. I don't know, it was very warm, high 70s, because we left in the morning. And we drove to the Grand Canyon, and the farther we're driving north, and we're realizing it's getting colder. It's getting colder. And we had dressed in our summer outfits, and so we had to stop at a Walmart. We had to buy sweatshirts and sweatpants, because as we're going to the Grand Canyon, it's getting colder. We're going higher elevations. And had no idea. I mean, you think you're in the desert. You think it's going to be hot, And by the end of the evening, we had stayed all the way through sunset so we could watch the sunset on the rim there. And we were bundled up, had our hoods on, and we were freezing. And then as we're driving back to Phoenix that night, we're starting to shed the clothes again because it was getting warmer and warmer as we're headed back to Phoenix that evening. So great memories. But until I don't think you understand the landscape and the just all the things that are around in each one of these different parts of the country until you're actually there. Pictures are great, but they don't do it justice. If you've ever been to the Grand Canyon, you understand that. Pictures are great, but they're nothing like being there. And there's nothing like walking down into it. My husband and I did that a couple years ago when we were there, and didn't go very far. I wish we had started out earlier. It was starting to get towards evening when we decided to do that, so we couldn't go down very far, but it gives a whole new look when you're actually down into that canyon. And so if you can travel, do it, and visit these places and make yourself a quilt like this so that you can see all these wonderful places as well. Let me flip this quilt over because you got to see the back too. So then on the back side of this quilt, Jan has put another panel, and I love this panel too because this one shows the United States and then shows all the spots where those national parks are. So fun. Even, did you know in Alaska, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there are 8 national parks in Alaska? I had no idea. Don't know that I'm ever going to make it there, but that is so cool. So I just love this, that it has all the spots. This would be great for homeschooling. As a homeschooling mom, I see this and I'm like, this would be so cool. My kids would just sit and stare at this and learn this, and a great way to present information to kids. So around it has all these patches again, and then there's I love this print too. This one has all of them. Gateway Arch National Park. You ever been there? You ever been up in the arch? My kids have a story about that too. They were not happy that I took them up there, but they won't forget it. They'll never forget it. So fun. Love this. So this is a black print, and then it has all the colors on top of it. I just think this is so adorable. So anyway, pantograph for this one. So she said this is going to be a picnic quilt for her friends, and so she wanted something that a little denser because she wanted it to hold up to to being out on the ground or out on a picnic table or in traveling, bin washing and that kind of stuff. So a little denser. And she gave me a couple choices, and I went with diagonal plaid. I love this pantograph. Mentioned before, I think this is a great introductory pantograph if you're just starting out with digital. It works on so many quilts. I've used it. You've seen me use it on t-shirt quilts. It's one of my go-to ones on t-shirt quilts. But these type of quilts too, the picnic ones or farm type ones, I just think diagonal plaid works really nicely. And can you see that? Got a little bit of a glare there on the lighter prints. Love the texture diagonal plaid gives. Easily to see all the motifs and all the design in the fabric. Doesn't take away from that at all. I did use a light color gray thread on this one. Gray went really well. I think it blended really well on all the colors, and it's not bright, but you can see the design. Blends really well on the back with those darker colors as well. I just love it. I love this whole quilt. Such a nice gift. I think it's just beautiful. Great job, Jan. I love it. And this is Lissa's quilt, and this is the Piece and Quilt Sampler. This is actually a quilt-along going on by the Fat Quarter Shop that's still going on. But Lissa finished hers already. This started in March of this year, and it will go all the way to February of 2025. So this is a year-long quilt-along. This is a free PDF that you can print off. This is called the Piece and Quilt Sampler, and it gives you your fabric requirements. It gives you the dates of the sew along, but then it also gives you a block guide. It says use these blocks for color placement inspiration. So if you want to do that just like is the pattern, then you can look here, and it shows all the different blocks and how they colored them, and then it does give you a coloring sheet in the back that you can try your own if you want to do different fabrics. These are the Shoreline fabrics from Camille Roskelley. There is a quilt kit that you can buy using these fabrics, and now Lissa said that she used Shoreline, and then she did add in a little bit of pink and coral colors. I don't know if you can see, just in small places she added some pinks and corals, and I think that was a nice touch. So just little spots here and there. She did say that she changed one block, and then she changed the border as well. The border is, called for a piece border. It was all half square triangles. Let me see if I can show you that. All half square triangles. I don't know if you can see that well enough. And Lissa said, nope, change that. So she did a blue. This is a Shoreline fabric. She did a smaller inner border and then a larger outer border. That is called for as well. And then she used the large floral on the back. This is also Shoreline. Love this. So this is a sampler. And I didn't mention you would need the book called Celebrate with Quilts. This is done by Lissa Alexander and Susan Aki, and I have linked that down below. So you will need the book to be able to do all the pattern, but you can get this free PDF just for inspiration to know your how much yardage and things that you would need, or you can just buy the quilt kit and all of your yardage would be there. So pretty. So yeah, done by the Fat Quarter Shop. Again, a sampler quilt. So if you're new to quilting and are wanting to learn all the different blocks, this would be a great way to do it. You can, and then you know, there are so many different blocks in this, and then you could then use that book and those blocks to create, you know, quilts with just one block in it. And we've seen many times how one block in a quilt can create a very beautiful quilt. Samplers are nice where you learn all the different things, and then you can use that same book or the same pattern quilt block that you've learned and create a whole quilt just with that quilt block. So pretty. This one measures 75 by 93. Let's talk about the pantograph. I'm always one up for new pantographs. I told you that last week. And so in deciding what pantograph to use, I went looking for some new ones, and I sent some ideas to Lissa, and she went, well, I think she finally at the end just said, you choose. She kind of told me, I like these couple and you choose. And so I wanted to try this new one. This one is called Melissa's Petal Tiles. I did get this on Urban Elements. And so let me see if you can see. All right, so we have a diamond shape right here. Inside that diamond, we have what looks kind of like an orange peel. It's got the 4 petals of an orange peel. But then in the empty space, so you have your diamond shape, and those petals are, the points of those petals are in the 4 corners of your diamond. And then in those empty spaces that's created, they've put a little circle. So all the diamonds nest up into each other. So here's a diamond, here's a diamond, here's a diamond, here's a diamond. So they nest up into each other. So when it's stitching out, you're stitching a diamond here and a diamond here, you know, almost in a zigzag. And so then when you do the next row, it's stitching those up into there. And then you get that whole, almost like a crosshatch effect, but we're adding in the little bit of petals there with a little bit of a circles. This quilt has so much going on. We could have done floral, and that would have been very pretty. And this one has kind of a geometric hint to it, but then also some softness with the petals and the circles and everything. I did use a white thread. A lot of these background fabrics are white, so white thread. There's a lot of white on the back, and so white thread worked really well. Can't wait for Lissa to get this one back. She's gonna love it. Love it. So pretty. So that quilt along is still going along. I doubt you may be able to catch up. You know, Lissa finished it in just very short amount of time. And if you're a monogamous quilter as Lissa is, you could still get caught up and join in on that quilt along. So check out Fat Quarter Shop on her blog and on her YouTube channel, where they give updates on this, and you can grab your free PDF to get started on that as well. So I hope you enjoyed those quilts. Some beautiful, beautiful quilts this week. If you are in need of long arm quilting services, I hope you'll check out my information down below. Feel free to send me an email or download the long arm prep instructions. And as always, I will be back here next week, because every quilt is worth finishing. We'll see you then.